Matters. This is a program that is brought to you and sponsored by the Berks County Area Agency on Aging. My name is Ann Barlet. I'm the Manager of Public Advocacy and Outreach for the agency. Our show tonight is Gambling Away the Golden Years. I'm looking forward to really learning a little bit more about that and seeing what some of the issues and problems are. And first, I'd like to introduce our guest. Marcia Goodman-Hinnershitz is here as the Director of Planning and Resources from the Council on Chemical Abuse. So thanks, Marcia, for being here with me this evening.
And we have spent a lot of time at the different senior centers, so it's delightful now to be bringing what we've discussed with the seniors here to BCTV.
And to the public, thank
Right.
you. First of all, we have to kind of start, I think, with the very basics and talking about gambling and seniors, a problem, as well as, why might they be at risk? And then just to even go further and say that Marcia, being with Council on Chemical Abuse, and we hear that, and we're certainly familiar with the fact that we think of drug and alcohol issues when we're talking with you in terms of Council on Chemical Abuse, but gambling, Marcia? How might you have how does Council on Chemical Abuse get involved with gambling and gambling prevention?
Well, first, if you look at all the different addictions that we might experience, the ones that have to do with chemicals are the ones that people are most familiar with, the Council on Chemical Abuse, as our name speaks to it. But gambling is another form of addiction and has a lot of similarities in how the stimulation of gambling can affect and change the brain. And indeed, research has shown that the same pleasure centers are affected when you're using substances as the stimulation you get from gambling.
Okay.
So as far as from a philosophical perspective, that's one reason for us to become involved. But as Pennsylvania moved ahead to legalize casino gambling, money was set aside in the state budget for gambling prevention because it was realized as you make more localities available for gambling, there's going to need to be more prevention and education. And so the Council on Chemical Abuse, starting about 5 years ago, applied for state funding grants that were available. So we've been doing this work and trying to have people understand the similarities of the addiction and how we can really be able to help people. Now, what I've always said is that if you look at where we are with gambling, it's called gambling disorders.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's the technical
official name. Okay.
Yeah, it's we are probably where we were 30 years ago with substance abuse addictions. So we have a long way to come as far as educating people. And as we have more discussion this evening, I think you're going to see that people may not look at the relationship between gambling and addiction.
You're right, absolutely. And yet, you had said something about the more sites that are, that the different sites that have become available to be able to gamble. And, it is, I can think of several different things and several different ways to be able, and places to gamble and type. So I'm looking forward to learning more and understanding it a little bit more as far as an addiction, and then really the senior approach, since our show is really focused on seniors and aging. So, okay. Let's start with, you mentioned a little bit about addiction, so let's talk, though, it sounds silly, but gambling. Tell me, what is gambling?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to be able to define what it is, and as we first define it, then we'll give some examples and things that people might not have thought about.
And does defining it, Marcia, before you do so, help us understand it then as an addiction, if I can put a definition to it?
Yeah, I think as you understand why people become involved in gambling, you then start to understand how the brain can be affected.
Okay.
Because gambling, very simply, is the act of risking something of value.
I'm going to write that down, risking of something of value.
Whether that be valuable as far as money goes, a possession, anything for winning something of greater value.
Okay.
So as simply as flipping a coin, okay, and saying heads wins, tails loses. If you say, okay, if I win, I'm going to get 5 times the number of coins, that's a form of gambling. That's not to say it's problem gambling, but it is a form of gambling. So people who gamble or play games of chance for money are more likely than, if they continue to play that game and then they have a predisposition to become addicted are more likely to develop problem gambling. And that's what we really want to focus on. We're not saying just like alcohol. Alcohol is a legal drug. We're not making a judgment on alcohol. We're not making a judgment on gambling, but we have to understand how people can become addicted.
Yeah, and understand it. I'm thinking everything now. My mind is kind of going, you said games of chance and whatnot, and I'm thinking of everything from those, what are they, punch boards?
Yeah, punch
in various places. That was the first thing that I thought about, the punch boards. And then then again, you know, we can talk about this later, but then I go to the other thing with seniors and the popular bingo game. So are you telling me, you know, I'm sure we can talk about bingo, but are you telling me that that is part of the whole gambling?
That's a type of gambling. Okay, and if you watch people, and you have friends, I have friends that engage in some kind of gambling behavior, what happens, for instance, if you ask people to choose a number, okay, and then you're going to do like a lottery type of thing and pull a number, you can see people getting excited. Yeah, exactly. You did the same thing. They're sort of, their minds, they're feeling like this expectation, I might win something, okay, and then supposedly if they do win, the expectation is I want to have that feeling again.
Okay. And because I think, don't you also think that the expectation as well as I feel lucky, so the impetus is I'm going to keep trying because I'm on a lucky streak, I'm on a winning streak, you know, may continue.
And what's really interesting with people that are problem gamblers is even if they come close to the number, they consider it winning. Okay, so if they get 4 out of the 5 numbers, okay, I almost won, therefore, and they don't look at the odds.
Okay.
And that's what's interesting with any game of chance.
Any type of game.
Yeah.
Is that any type? Because again, I'm going to go back with, you know, I see it in, you know, I see it in bingo. You have a card, and you go, oh, I'm almost, or you hear it among people who are sitting together at the table, even with something like that, when you know you're waiting for, you know, if it's 4 corners, you're waiting for the 1 corner. I'm 1 away. And you hear people keep saying, I'm so close, oh, and then, you know, when you lose, it's oh.
But then I want to be able to get that feeling of possibly winning again, so I'm going to keep on trying.
Because I got close, so I might keep going, okay? So we've got gambling as risking of something of value, okay? And then, so you said small games of chance, and we're talking various games, kinds of bingo and things like that. But what does gambling go beyond those games? What types of games, and then does it go beyond
Well,
games?
first of all, we have to look at gambling as being an industry. Okay,
all
and if you look at the casinos, you look at all different other organizations that sponsor games of chance, they recognize that the odds of people winning, basically the house is the one who controls it. The house being, whether it be a casino, whether it be the lottery, the house always wins. The odds are always in the house.
We just can't get that, can we?
Yeah, we sort of
tell
think,
us that, but
because we want to feel all powerful, but the house will always win, and the odds when they go into tens of millions of a chance of winning, you know, your odds. But that one person that wins, everyone thinks that they're that person then.
Right.
Okay, so that the odds are always going to be against you. So you have to be able to say, are you going to be able to walk away when you lose? Or are you going to risk something that you really can't risk?
And then, yes, exactly. So if I go and I have my $20 in my pocket, and I'm willing to lose the 20 without having to kind of continue to try and find other sources of money and in my pocket, more money that I really brought along for something else, and I, you know, keep going after that. Okay, all right. So, games. Can we talk a little bit about all kinds of things that you mean when we're talking games and gambling and or?
Well, I think there's all different kinds of examples, starting from what we're most familiar with. The most fundamental is rolling dice. Okay, flipping a coin. Okay, different card games. And even though there's a sense of, well, there's a skill attached to that, okay, it really is chance, because you
Or
never
strategy.
Or you never really know what cards you're going to be dealt, literally. Okay, then we look on the things that have become more sophisticated, our casinos, which range from all different kinds of games of chance, from the roulette wheels to the blackjack to the slot machines.
I was going to say the slots. Sure.
And the slots have really changed as far as how they're operated now. So the amount of money that needs to be put into them continues to escalate.
Okay.
So you have that whole casino environment. And then you look at the things that are now online gaming, from sports betting, to some of the games that we play that we don't even think about. Candy Crush is a form of gambling. Okay. And you think, okay, what of value are you getting? What are you winning when you play a game like Candy Crush on your electronic device? You're continuing to move ahead and get more levels, but what you do is if you don't move ahead, you end up having to pay, what, 99 cents?
Oh, okay.
So there's all different kinds. You can find online roulette, you can find online blackjack, all the different card games. And it's really interesting when the poker games became more popular is when there was a strike in one of the sports leagues, and they started to put Texas Hold'em.
Okay.
And now you have people that are just watching TV and gambling and watching all the poker championships.
And we even see it on TV. They have the poker shows that are the gambling shows. You've got the other TV shows where there's one where if somebody won $1 million, you know, how well did they do with that $1 million? Did they lose it all? You know, did they, by spending everything, or did they use that $1 million wisely? So there's even TV shows showing people who have either won or are winning, and I think that also encourages us to try, because see, they won the $1 million. They're winning.
And if you look at even the way that they promote it when it's coming up to the lotto being a jackpot, you know, everyone's watching it on TV. Who's going to be winning, and they're not talking about all the millions of people that might have bought tickets that were the losers. There's a reason why they're able to come up with that jackpot.
Yeah, all I see is the billboard as I'm driving down the road saying, you know, the latest jackpot of, you know, something is 30 million.
So I think what we learn is that our culture is really a culture of gambling. And when I was doing the research for the initial request for funding, it just amazed me. I calculated the number of casino buses that ran from Berks County, and that's when the casinos were in Atlantic City. There was over 1,000 bus runs a year.
Wow.
Okay, because and obviously there was a market for people that wanted to go down to Atlantic City.
Well, and I think that that's going to lead into my next question, which is, so the show again is on seniors. So why are seniors more at risk? And just as you were saying that, I know that a lot do ride the bus. So is there, you know, some correlation there, or why also are seniors more at risk?
Well, first of all, you have to look at where seniors are in their life. Okay, as we age, there's things that happen to us. Our bodies aren't working as well. There's a lot more pain involved in life.
Sure.
Okay, we also have a lot more free time. So the casino buses, the runs to the casino, give an opportunity to socialize. You're well taken care of. Usually,
I don't have to drive. I mean, you can hop on and hop off. They're going to get you to the door, so you don't have to worry about maybe you know, have some issues with driving or driving at night or something. So it's very convenient.
Okay, so you're getting to socialize with your friends, so you chit chat with them. It's almost, and it has been referred to as senior daycare.
Oh.
Okay, and it's a way of people having a place to go where they can be friends and socialize. If you get into a casino, and there's some things if you just visualize going into a casino, and well, what's it like? What's the environment like?
Exciting and light and colors and ching 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 and
a lot of noise, a lot of stimulation. Okay, no clocks.
Oh, true.
Okay, a lot of mirrors. Okay, things to distract you. So is, you know, which is more comfortable for a senior who might be sitting at home watching TV or being in a kind of environment than actually getting
and you feel like you're with other people.
Right.
Even if you're only there, one or two of you, you do feel like you're with others.
Okay. So it really provides a nice, inexpensive escape, with the caution that if you don't control the amount of money you're betting, it could become a real problem.
And I think that that probably leads into something that I know our agency, not necessarily the gambling piece, but certainly seniors are at a stage, as you said, not only the medical conditions or you know, our bodies change into aches and pains, but some of the other issues are, of course, some limited fixed income, if that's what you want to call it, and that I only have so much. I'm typically not working anymore, or you know, not full-time, not part-time, so I'm limited in my income, have to watch my income and my expenses. So I'm assuming that they can, one of the risks is kind of getting carried away with the pot of money that I have, that I can choose to save or gamble. And what happens to a risk, right?
Right, and people are very private, and understandably so, about their finances. So if they don't have a gambling problem, they may be able to walk away. Okay. If they do, though, and they're not able to, all of a sudden their finances become at risk.
Right.
Okay. And what might have been a nest egg, a pension, something that they had to take care of themselves,
that they were dipping into,
can slowly disappear or quickly disappear, depending on the problem. I remember talking to a colleague of mine who, you know, had a family member who was involved with lottery tickets. Went into their home, everywhere you could go, there were scratch-off tickets. They didn't even throw out the tickets after they lost, okay, because it was such a fixation. So the family members have to be really sensitive to what might be some signs, and not to accept that something that might look as harmless as going to a casino might create or carry some risk with it.
So then let's go with that. And what are then some signs of problem gambling that we can all look for, whether it's the spouse of somebody, a family member, a good friend?
Well, first of all, there's a preoccupation. Your time is imbalanced. Suddenly, all your activities are surrounded upon some type of gambling activity. Okay. Obsession about the lottery tickets, obsession about going to the casino. And what's really easy to hide right now is all the online gambling.
Sure.
And I gave you an example before the show started. I was going to one of the senior centers and saw a senior with an iPad, and he was playing roulette. Okay, on the iPad. Well, you know how fast that goes.
Sure.
You have to keep putting money into it. You have an account, probably using your credit card number. Okay, and every time
and when you don't see it, what you don't see, it goes very quickly.
The money disappears, and all of a sudden you don't have any money left in your account,
Yeah.
and so you can't afford to pay your bills. So that's a real sign. But again, if people are
And how convenient and easy is that to be sitting there using, you know, just kind of quickly doing this sort of thing. You don't have to go anywhere. You know, you can do that just about anywhere.
Right. So no one's really seeing it. No one's discussing it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's not money. And unless someone's working with that individual, who's going to know that they're short?
They just don't see that they don't have enough for maybe food.
Right.
Or cutting, again, we are familiar with folks that have limited money, are maybe cutting medicines or other issues that, again, you may not see.
But let me ask you this, working with the population, would you ever, if someone were running short of money, think about asking that question, whether or not there might be a gambling issue?
You know, no, I'm glad you asked that, but I'm hoping to take this information certainly back to our agency to be more knowledgeable and a little bit more alert to bringing that subject up. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas that the Council on Chemical Abuse is focusing on, is how you ask the questions the correct way, the screening and assessment, and knowing people are very private and protective and a lot of denial, just like any other type of addiction, that you have to take it slow with folks and help them start seeing what might be the problem.
Okay.
So it's not an easy addiction to uncover at all.
So let's finish before to make sure signs. I do want to make sure we've covered other signs or other things you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think they're very similar to substance abuse. Okay, you know, you're going to start lying. Okay, lying about your money. Okay, lying about, you know, that you're going gambling. A lot of mood swings, getting very angry because let's say you've lost.
Sure.
Okay. And all of a sudden that high isn't there of winning, and you're not able to get your fix of going to the casino. There's going to be violent mood swings.
Wow. Okay.
Can lead to abusive behavior.
All right.
Okay, so there's
And
a
I would
lot.
think also then the little piece when somebody actually starts looking or questioning, it heightens that a little bit,
Oh,
right?
definitely. If
Okay.
anyone's trying to delve in and look what's
Yeah.
going on inside,
Yeah.
the problem gambler isn't going to want to have those questions asked.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so it's very protective, and we'll try to maneuver our ways around it.
Interesting. Interesting. How about so we can maybe look at some of those things if we have a good, maybe close relationship, you know, or it comes to our agency backwards in that they don't have some of those funds for, you know, fuel or medicines or some other things. But are there, where does it begin and, you know, are there phases? Are there, you know, is there beginning and end? You know, is it a obviously slow progression here?
It's very progressive.
Phases? Okay.
Okay, and it starts out with the actual gambling, and then all of a sudden the winning phase. And when the gambler wins, he thinks, okay, I'm going to keep chasing that. Okay, I'm going to try to get that next win feeling. And he continues to go down that path until the point that the losses start occurring. And then even with the losses, if it seems like it's close to a win, it becomes a win.
So we really don't recognize that we're really losing.
Okay, so when they have repeated losses, okay, then they're going to start borrowing money, trying to figure out other ways about it. So they may ask friends or family members, again, very similar to substance abuse, asking people to loan them money to be able to continue to pay off their debts.
And I would think that that would be hard for a senior.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I mean, because you just said, you know, we tend not to talk about our finances, and then to who do they borrow from? You know, not their children necessarily. So I would imagine that has to be cool.
And I mean, the shame that goes along with
Sure.
it, and the desperation. A lot of problem gamblers are suicidal, okay, because they
Sure,
just don't know. It's something
How do I stop?
How do I stop? And I don't have any money, and the amount of debt is just outstanding. And when you look at the amount the casinos and the other gambling venues are taking in, that also represents a lot of people being in very serious debt.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
As much as you can generate revenue off of gambling, there's the dark side to it too. And that's what we continue to need to talk about in a way to give people a chance of hope that you can recover, just like you can get treatment for other addictions, you can get treatment for problem gambling.
Well, I think you and I talked again, and we touched about it in the very beginning, and I think to kind of touch upon it now at the very end too is, and it also makes, there's so many things that are making it so available and so convenient. You know, you even mentioned in our previous discussion about the machines, you know, in the grocery stores and, you know, all of those other places that, oh, I'm checking out and I'm putting my money away in my wallet, and I go, oh, look, I can just quickly put these couple of dollars in this particular machine. So between that and some of the beginnings and the addictions and on, but that I think it's good to point out that we can ask that as an agency, but also that to be aware, to have folks know that it is an addiction just like some of these others, and the process and the phases, but that education, I think trying to communicate with all kinds of groups, you know, we're focused on seniors, but to educate, to let them know that it is an addiction, can happen as we continue with it. So what else is out there? I mean, we're talking to you as Council on Chemical Abuse, but what other help is available?
Well, first of all, there needs to be that first call made. And if we could show the number.
Okay, we have a poster?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The gambling problem, I think the easiest to remember is 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay.
Okay, that's a statewide hotline number.
Okay.
When that number's called, they will refer people to local treatment resources.
Okay.
In Berks County, it's Caring Treatment Services.
So they are also focused on gambling,
Yeah.
addictions, and treatment.
Exactly, and
Okay.
we also have, just as we do with alcohol, we have Gamblers Anonymous meetings.
Okay.
Okay, also for family members of problem gamblers, we have Gam-Anon meetings.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's that same structure that's set up to give people help and hope for recovery. So what we want to do is let people know not to be afraid to ask the question.
Not to be alone, not to
not to
seek
feel
some help.
isolated, that it's important, and to be able to help the person who may be struggling, because if you can put yourself in their shoes, what they might be feeling and how desperate
Sure.
they might be.
Sure, and confide in somebody who can make sure that you do get that phone number, or call some local agencies to be able to get some help.
And again, it's an easy number to remember,
Yes,
1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambler.
If you notice some billboards that have been up, the big red billboards about losing money.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
all
we
right.
want people to, pagambling.com is
okay.
the website. We just want to continue to have that awareness that it's something that you can connect with. There's help available.
Okay, good. And last, real quick, in 1 minute, how about in the future, other future programs or opportunities, things that Council on Chemical Abuse is doing with regards to this in the future, or some other areas that
Well, we're
help?
hoping, as we look at funding from the state, the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs, to continue our educational programs with the senior centers,
Okay.
which we do quite a bit, working with our young people to have them understand. We're looking at having them understand the technology and the relationship with gambling, and then working with college students, young adults, because they seem to be the ones that are most caught up in the sports betting and that type of gambling.
Okay.
And being able to help people if they have a problem, or if a family member does, how do they get help? So we'll continue to build our resources and build those bridges so people can understand how gambling is just another type of addiction, and there's no shame
And
in
there's
it.
help.
There's help available, yeah.
Okay. And I hope that our show has given folks an opportunity to hear just a little bit about this evening. And also, I might offer your organization. I know you mentioned senior centers, but I know there's also a lot of senior clubs in our community that are groups of seniors that meet on a regular basis. And perhaps somebody there is listening and think that this would certainly be a good topic for their group meeting. And again, the more we can help to continue that education, I'm hoping that our show will help to do that, as well as I'm glad you've given us some good information for our agency to keep in mind and remember, and to help educate others.
And we'll be doing our information at the Senior Expo again this year, so we hope to see you out there. Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you. That's time flew right by this evening. I'm sure we could have continued our discussion. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to call Marcia at the Council on Chemical Abuse, or myself, Ann Barlet, at the Berks County Area Agency on Aging at 610-478-6500. Thank you.